Impression the game you get out with what you put into it. It's like a walk of life. If you're good enough, go out and get it, no more about it.
Not so much control in the centre of the field from Kilkenny as Richie Bennett sends it high and over the bar.
Your mother sends you down to the shop for a pound's worth of goods and she gives you 50 pence. You can't get the pound's worth of goods, can you?
Just about kept in. Oh, well done, Shawnee Buckley. To do that to Tomás O'Shea. He deserves to score from here. One of the highlights of the Sunday game.
Limerick went out there from the word go today. No more about it. They made all the running, that was it. Put the ball over the bar and the back of it, and that's it. No ifs, no buts.
Is there much time left? We have a couple of injuries. Here comes Kieran Curry. Curry leading the charge of the left brigade. 45 metres out. He's a chance to score. He's put it hard.
There's no sympathy in this game for anybody.
Hello, and you're very welcome again to Treaty Talk, the podcast covering all things Gaelic games in Limerick. My own name is Tom Clancy, and joined as ever by the Weekly Observer and Vale Star newspapers, Matt O'Callaghan. Matt, hopefully after the weekend coming, we might have maybe a new clip maybe to usurp Mr. Carey there, but we're heading into fantastic weather. We're heading into basically knockout hurling. Very, very exciting times for everyone following the green and white.
Yeah, by Sunday week, Tom, 5 will be reduced to 3. And the trick is to be among the 3. Now, as we are at the moment, we're well poised to be in it, but we still need another win. And, from a nervous point of view and from a squeaky bum point of view, you'd really need to get it next Sunday if at all possible. But I suppose since the final whistle was blown in the All-Ireland semi-final last year, this is the game that certainly all Limerick folk have been waiting for. And, whilst the year didn't start off that terribly promising in the league, but you can't read too much into the league, I would say. And certainly it wasn't very promising either the opening day against Tipperary, but things seem to be coming right the last day against Waterford. So, hopes are rising that Limerick are in a good place at the moment. But the most spoken about team this year has to be Cork, and they're in a good place. They definitely carried over the good form that took them all the way to the All Ireland final last year, and they ploughed through the league and blew everybody apart nearly in winning the league. And but where they're at in the championship, I'm not 100% sure. And this is something that we're going to probe now with our two guests who would be well in the know. And I'm certainly looking forward to our discussion this evening, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll bring our guests in momentarily. Just a reminder, as ever, we cover everything here on Treaty Talk. We'll be looking at the footballers' win against London. We'll be looking at exits for the under-20s and under-17s football sides. We're looking for qualification for the ladies and a few more bits and pieces, such as the Masters and Celtic Challenge besides. That's later in the piece, but as Matt says, he teases up nicely there. We're bringing in two guests, one in green and white and one in red and white, in the form of John Meyler, former indeed Cork manager, and indeed Andrew O'Shaughnessy, familiar, of course, to the Limerick faithful who listen and watch our podcast. Gentlemen, you're very welcome to Treaty Talk. How's all?
Evening, Tom. All good here.
Yeah, very good. Andrew, how's things? Yeah,
all good.
Good evening, lads. Very, very nice to have you on.
Yeah, good. All good.
We'll throw the ball in, I suppose, looking ahead to the weekend, John, as the man coming up from Cork towards Shannon's side at the weekend. Matt said it there. It's been Cork's year so far, so can Limerick put a spanner in the works? It's been a very successful season so far, but what can Limerick do to stop it?
As you just said there, I think Limerick have been waiting for this match, since the last year's two matches. That Cork beat them down here in the park and then in the All-Ireland semi-final. And I think Limerick, have been waiting for Cork. But I think Cork have been very positive this year. Very good league campaign, running the ball quick, scoring goals, very comprehensive against Clare in the first half. Much the same against Tipperary after, McCarthy was sent off. And killing teams off with scoring goals. So I think Cork have probably played their 2-3 matches this year, the league final and 2 championship matches, for about 40-45 minutes. They'll up it again now on Sunday to go 50-55 minutes. But, I think Limerick are in the proper driving seat, really. They've had 2 weeks off. They had a, flimsy league campaign, started off well in their matches and then just upped it in, and they've had 2-week break since the last match and are in prime position. They're home. They need to make home advantage pay against Cork on Sunday. So it's going to be very tight. It's going to be hard. It's going to be all chock-a-block in the middle of the field. Limerick going for 30-35 points. Cork will need to get 3 or 4 goals really to negate that.
Yeah, Andrew, as Limerick people, as the lads have pointed out, we're looking forward to this game since that semi-final last year. It was Cork, obviously, in the Munster Championship that kept themselves alive in round 3 last year with that win in Páirc Uí Chaoimh in spectacular fashion. I suppose they've certainly found a way of beating this Limerick team last year, as we saw. But so what do you think John Kiley and Páirc Uí Chaoimh have to have changed in the meantime to maybe get the better of Cork? Because Cork clearly on the crest of a wave in the last maybe 15 months or so.
Most definitely, Tom, they are, of course, and I'd argue that they're probably better this year now. They started better this year than they did last year. So, as you alluded to, they were fortunate enough to get out of the Munster last year, but indeed they did, and they went on to a great year, but unfortunately didn't win in the final. But this year, I think they're actually hurling a lot slicker. Their speed of movement going forward is frightening. So, it's very hard for John Kiley and Páirc Uí Chaoimh to counter that speed, because you have to match speed with speed. But their Cork are hurling, but Cork should always hurl with the ball and keep it moving, throwing the ball around, just confident in their own skill, and they're actually a joy to behold. Whether or not they'll get that freedom, I hope they won't. I hope a lot of those runs could be stopped at source, so you can make a run if you're checked with the ball. And again, the home advantage in this Munster campaign, or the last, since the system has started up, home advantage has proved to be massive. Limerick have a good record at home, as do Cork in the park, so maybe it's kind of a bit like Six Nations. You have to make your home games count, and hopefully that'll be of benefit to Limerick on Sunday. But again, if whoever wins on Sunday, I expect them to meet them once or twice again, hopefully in the year. I think that's where it's shaping up.
But it'll be all in the middle, really. I think Limerick will try a power game in the middle, the middle third of the pitch. They'll suffocate the middle third, and they'll try and tighten it up in there. Cork will try to run through them, and you'll have Gillan and Owen, possibly Niall O'Leary, Sean O'Donoghue, and Limerick with only one forward inside, and you know what I mean. It'll be all inside in the middle, really, of the middle third between the two 45s, and Limerick shooting from outside for points. Cork will need to get breakthrough then for points, goals, etc. So it'll be tough. It'll be hard. It'll be physical. Referees, I think, are really, really important in this game and in all the Munster Championship. You look at Johnny Murphy sent off McCarthy there against Tip. Kind of the game was really over after a minute. If you look at it in that context, refereeing decisions can be really critical here.
Yeah, of course. You did say, John, all between the two 45s, and why Limerick want to do that, to congest that, to create space for the forwards. And equally, Cork will be the same. But where Limerick deliver the ball through to their full forward line, Cork will run through. And by delivering the ball through, you have a chance of a score. By running through, you're creating a goal chance if you pop the ball over. And that's what Cork have been doing. The two boys half forward, they're just getting the ball, popping into the man running through, and that creates great space. But that's an interesting point as well about the refereeing. It shouldn't come down to a referee's decision, but that's what it does do. More the fact that they're getting assessed every match. They have to, every incident they have to ref.
Go on, John,
but if you look at Wexford and Dublin context, whether the penalty was over the line or not, Jesus, it's a critical decision. Like Johnny Murphy with the pull on Robbie O'Flynn last year, Johnny sending off McCarthy as well. So there are big decisions now in games, and you can't afford to lose a man at any price whatsoever. Like you saw Cork against Clare when Barrett was sent off, the influence, then Clare got back into it. So discipline is critical. I would imagine the Croke Park have been on to the managers on Monday this week. Just tell them, look, we're looking at this A, B, C, and you need to, behave yourselves in a way.
John, I would just like to ask you there, immediately after the league final in which, Cork comprehensively beat Tipperary, Pat Ryan's immediate reaction after the game was to express dissatisfaction with his team's second half performance. Now, notwithstanding the sending off of Shane Barrett, his analysis was vindicated in the game against Clare, because irrespective of Barrett being sent off or not, Clare had come right back into the game, and the jury is out as to what Cork's second half performance would be against Tipperary in the championship because of the sending off of McCarthy.
But the emphasis really on, and as you start off every game, you're looking for improvement going forward. You're looking for another 2, 3, 4, 5% every day you go out. And I think Cork, they destroyed Tip in the Park in the league final. It was, they destroyed Clare in the first half. They were up 12 points at half time, and you'd always warn your own team, before you go to start to say, Clare are really going to come back at us now, and we have to. And then you had the incident with Robert Downey just before half time. He should never have come out for the second half. And, because Downey was really struggling with his knee at that stage. And Clare got in to get 2 goals, and the game was back 5 points up, Cork were. And then Cork went 8 or 9 up, and then they started making substitutions. Hoggy, Ethan Toomey, and somebody else was taken off at critical times, I'd say, in the second half, and they shouldn't have done that. And then Clare came back to go a point up. So look, I think Cork just need to get another 5 or 10 minutes more. Looking at Limerick, they're just improving, 5% every day from their first game to their second game. They'll look for another improvement on Sunday, and, bedding Kyle Hayes in at centre back, things like that. So, Cian Lynch and those guys will be back to form and improving every day. So you're looking for 5% improvement, bringing it all together. And I think you'll see that with Cork on Sunday. They'll go for probably 50 minutes, because in every game, the other team will always, have a purple patch where they're going to be on top. And, Limerick are like the old Kilkenny, 5-10 minutes before halftime, 5-10 minutes after the second half, or the start of the second half. The games are really over in the context, looking over the last few years. So it's critical, Cork stay in the game for longer than what they did the last couple of matches.
Andrew, the Limerick line-out, in particular against Waterford, had a much better look of solidity and composure about it than the day against Tipperary. Where are you on the Limerick line-out? Is this as near as we're going to get to our best line-out?
Well, you just took the word out of my mouth, Matt, when you were on about the Limerick line-out, and the word I was going to use was solidity. They just structurally look better. They're more compact. You have more faith when the ball goes in that it's going to, if the score's going to be conceded, it's going to be a point. They're tried and tested. It's not far off the starting team. You look, Cathal O'Neill has a massive part to play, whether he's going to be fit or not. If he's fit, I think you have to start him, but they're kind of getting to a stage where throughout the league they'd have 50-60% of their team and always just tinkering with it, getting game time into younger lads as well. But now they're getting back to you're getting to knockout stage of championship already this stage, and you have to be starting your strongest team with good impact coming off the bench. And it's just a matter of the likes of Cathal English and Adam or Cathal O'Neill and Adam English. They have to start. Whether they start together or not is another question. But equally, one or the other persons coming on has to make a big contribution. Mm-hmm. So I'd be happy enough with the setup of the team that we had against Waterford. Maybe 1 or 2 additions if they want to try that. But again, I'm not getting the big bucks.
But just to take you up there on what you're saying about coming off the bench, I suppose Tipperary, in the last 6 or 7 years, the game against Tipperary was probably one of the days that we got the least impact off the bench.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But again, that's probably one of the rare occasions in the last 5 or 6 years that the bench hasn't made a big impact. So that's allowed as well. We can't be that naive and saying, geez, we got no impact off the bench, because every time he's tried it heretofore, he has got an impact of one sort or another. So we have to allow him that off day. Hopefully it won't happen all too often.
Yeah, Andrew, the move from Kyle Hayes to 6 is probably the most talked about, I suppose, switch so far in the Limerick team. I mean, his athleticism to be playing at centre back, given the way the game is now played in terms of the running game from a lot of teams, and his ability to maybe to cover ground, and then he's a launch pad in attack too. He can still make those surging runs because there's a great understanding with the likes of William O'Donoghue, who'll cover position for him. Do you see it as the best option for Kyle Hayes, or for Limerick, to have Kyle Hayes at 6? Because the experiment, if you like, of moving him back to 11 against Tipperary, while I wouldn't say it was a failure, maybe it wasn't a roaring success either. So maybe is 6 the most obvious position for him in the immediate future?
Yeah, you're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul in that essence. So he's phenomenal, number 6, and you said it, and especially against Cork, I would see that to stop those runs, you have to have someone with real pace and athleticism, and he's the perfect person for that, because if you beat him, he will get back and he'll stop you more or less. And then what I like from the Waterford setup is bringing Barry Nash out half back allows Kyle to do a bit more defending, because Barry Nash is equally adept at going forward. So I think that's a good option. Do anything. So since we're playing Cork on Sunday it's easy in hindsight, against Cork last year in Croke Park, I would have, when we see the way the game was going, I would have nearly risked putting Kyle Hayes up centre forward in that instance. I'm not too sure for Sunday, but maybe later on in the championship might be a good choice if we're still in it.
Yeah, John, the move there of Kyle Hayes as centre back, he was a player that Cork tried to avoid at all costs last year. If you recall, in that semi-final, they just kept the ball away from Kyle Hayes. It's probably a great compliment, of course, to him. If Cork can get the better of that line, if they can try and get on top of that Limerick half back line, I mean, that's surely the platform for them to win the game.
Yeah, but you're looking at Dermot, Kyle and Barry Nash from the Waterford game, and Kyle Hayes is a superb hurler, and obviously Will O'Donoghue staying put with him there, so that's going to be very congested there, really. So Cork with their running game tried to get through that, so it's got to be that it's got to go down the side sometime, and then you take out the centre back out of that equation. But look, it's just going to be congested, and Burns went off after 20 minutes against Waterford, so for a misdemeanor. So again, you have to be very, very careful there. But it's going to be congested. You'll have half forwards back playing half backs. Like Hannon was a master of 6, and Kyle certainly will stay put there in the middle, much like Robert Downey. I think the placing of Downey at 6 last year was really influential in Cork, because he steadied the ship, where I think Joyce tends to take off more and solos out of position, and if then is turned over, your middle is wide open. So I think Kyle Hayes and Downey are probably two of the same kind of hurlers, really, getting it and delivering it, and
Yeah, and what about the man, John, from near the border here in the former Davor, Fitzgibbon? He's been in electric form. I mean, will we see him wearing 11? Will we see him operating there, or will he play? Do you see him maybe playing a little bit deeper?
Fitzy is like Tony Kelly. They don't have a position, so you know what I mean. He plays everywhere, so he can, he just plays everywhere, really, and that's it. So you're just going to have to pick him up. You decide to pick him up, or you decide to let him off. It's obviously Kyle Hayes is not going to mark him, really, and that's it, because if he marks him, then the middle is open, so they're not going to come out of those positions. So it'll be a contrast in styles, in a sense of Cork versus Limerick in terms of their hurling style and that. But Fitzy will be everywhere in the pitch, so that's up to Limerick to manage that.
Yeah. And
John, in terms of the development of this Cork team and the progression of this Cork team, how important was it to get silverware on the board?
I think Clare showed that last year, and Kilkenny have always showed it. Like Cody always showed it. Even Walsh Cup there, I remember being involved with Wexford 07, 08, and they came down to Wexford Park at the end of January, first week in February, and they played us in the Welsh Cup, and he 13 at the All-Ireland team. Like, they emphasise on Kilkenny just winning, and Limerick developed that mentality over the last few years, and it just showed if you keep winning, you know what I mean, there's nothing wrong, and you just kind of need to replace. And I think credit to Kylie in the last year, so like that you have one or two fresh players coming in. I think Shane O'Brien is a real plus now. A real plus in the full forward line. He's starting to mature. Adam English and that, and they're giving more and more. So you have the emphasis then, like what Cork did this year. They won the league. Clare won it last year. Gives you momentum, because there's only 2 weeks between a league final and the first round of the Munster Championship. So you really don't have to tweak much if you're getting it right. You just need to build up your 8 or your 20 players and make damn sure that the fellas that are coming on make an impact. And you look at Cork the last day, Robbie O'Flynn came on, got 2 points, Tommy O'Connell, they added to it. Jaron Meyler came on as well. So, Cork have strength now. They're embarrassed to come back after the sending off against Clare. So that'll be a positive and for Cork on Sunday as well.
Andrew, the importance and the inspiration of Cian Lynch. His performance against Waterford was off the charts. How important is he to this Limerick team? He's absolutely crucial, I think.
He is. When he's in that form, of course, he'd be anyone in that form is crucial to the team. He's very good getting the ball first time and doing the right thing. Well, here toward the last 18 months, maybe he's taken a tad bit too much out of the ball. Now he's just breaking the tackle, either taking a score or setting up the pass that people don't see. And his vision is in nearly 21. It's not even 2020. He has great vision. That he sees the pass that we're just watching the play going another way, and he just directs it over, like he did against Waterford, the pass to Tom Morrissey. No one saw that pass, but things like that. He's a key figure. But again, Cork will be analysing that, and they'll be looking to negate that, and that's why around the middle third or the middle section, they're going to try to.
It's very hard to mark Cian Lynch because the ball is in around, and then it's a hand pass out or a flick out. It's not spectacular. It's quite simple what he does. It just goes in around the middle, as you said there. The hand pass to Morrissey, or the pass to Morrissey. It's a 5, 10, 20-yard pass. That's it in a nutshell, And it looks so simple. That's very simple, but it's very effective and very difficult to mark him because the ball is gone before you get near him.
I'm glad you said hand pass because over in Semple Stadium, every time he hand passed the ball, we're calling throw. And no doubt a few rebels will be like that on Sunday now. Anytime he gets the ball, throw ball. But it's a phase coming into the team I'm training.
Yeah, but that's critical. Referees are just let it go. And I'm not let it go, but I'm saying that kind of do it. The speed of the game really is important.
Yeah, of course. And as I said to anyone, when you train in a team and you grow up hurling, you're never taught to throw ball. So naturally, it's just the speed of hand pass, and as players develop, you're more athletic and faster, it just looks a lot faster. And that's majority. I know people do throw it, but it's not as bad as people are making it out to be. I don't think.
No, and we don't want. What I don't want is referees blowing up, every 30 seconds, 20 seconds, and
and you're breaking up the game. Then you can't have consistency in it, and it's it is.
Yeah. Do you want a game of freeze, lads, or a game of hurling, And I suppose some people think there's maybe 150, 200 throws per match, and just not the reality of it. You got
the speed. You go back and look at the hurling. I'm older than you, but you go back and look at the hurling in my time in the 80s, and it's terrible. Even looking at it now, it's terrible. Compared to the hurling that we're playing today, it's the difference in speed and.
Yeah, John, even from the early 90s when I was hurling, I watched some matches occasionally, and the pace is just a lot, as you said, it's a lot slower, and there's no passing the ball, it's just strike as far as you can. But the game is totally different, and for the betterment, obviously, I think it is, but it's just a lot faster, a lot more scientific, and a lot more intelligent, I think.
Yeah. Intelligent is probably the right word.
Yeah. John, it wasn't that bad. It just has evolved like any sport, and it's changed.
Exactly.
And the hurleys are better, and the pitches are better, and all the rest of it. We won't knock it down that much,
I know, but you know what I mean, that.
Yeah.
You see sitters now going over the net, and Jesus, before, mind the sliotar because we only have 2 or, what I mean?
The slitters are lighter as well, yeah. There's a fact anyway. Talk to us about this rivalry, Andrew. I know you were a man who was educated at secondary school anyway, across the border. Now they educated you a bit of hurling as well, I think, with a number of Harty Cups as well. But plenty of where you are, obviously, in terms of Kilmallock and all that, plenty of rivalry there. Now we Pat Ryan on when we were talking ahead of Pat Ryan from Doon, that is, obviously, when we were talking ahead of Tipperary, and he, keenly looks at the Tipperary game. People down in South Limerick, even including Matt there, and that will look over the border when these fixtures coming up. It's
I'm beside the border, Tom, and there has been a near silence for the last 5 or 6 years.
Okay, right. Very few compliments. But what's it like, Andrew, for you down the years? I know, as I said, the school friends going back in the day, and obviously work colleagues and all the rest of it. So how's it there in that kind of woods?
It's healthy, Tom. Of course, it's so. obviously when Cork are going well, you're looking over, you're envious, but that was what we were used to. Cork with this tradition, fantastic tradition. They were always the team that you look up to, you admire to a certain extent, but obviously you want to beat them. And when we did beat them, it was only on rare occasions. It wasn't in finals, and that table is turned now. But again, it's changing again. So you just see the confidence coming back into Cork again, which is understandable. Like all these things go around in cycles. Cork, Tipperary, Kilkenny, their cycle is a lot bigger than like the Limerick, but people want to see change as well. And Cork are the team that are forefront in that, and they look the keenest team and the team leading the pack to have that change. And all we can do is try keep going as long as possible and be competitive. And that's not being disingenuous to what we've achieved, but when you win something, you want to keep on winning as much as possible. But you have to be realistic enough as well to say that's not always possible. So you just have to keep going as long as you can.
No guarantee it'll last forever. Yeah, John, this rivalry for you. I saw you run off the ball earlier today, and I had to bring up 2018. I'm going to bring it up here again for you. That semi-final, while obviously you came out the wrong side of it, it will go down as one of the great hurling games of any era, really, won't it? Yeah. For Limerick,
but you know what I mean. For Limerick, because it really started them off, and even if you go back then the previous year, they beat us in the under-21 final in Limerick by 2 points, and you know we were short Fitzy, Luke Mead, and Billy Hennessy that day. And Jesus, it could have been us in a way that would have won the under-20. I think that really, you Kyle Hayes, Keane Lynch, all those guys that day, that evening in Limerick. And then to go on then in 18 and that, and it is what it is. We all regret things in life, but it was the first time there was ever a replay an end of match in an All Ireland semi-final. Jesus, come back the following week or 2 weeks and replay it. But
yeah, and because I know Clare and Galway got their replay the following day because they tied it up after extra time, so they got a second bite at it. But the rivalry for you, John, obviously in recent years we've seen some epic games, but even going back, I recall I know in the early 2000s, one of my earliest memories of watching Limerick is maybe I think Andrew would have been playing when Limerick pushed a very good Cork team within a point, and it felt like Limerick were always the underdog when they were playing Cork. Is that how you'd have looked at this rivalry back the years?
Yeah, look, but Cork, since I came to Cork here in '74, there's a fantastic tradition and culture here, and that they've maintained that over the years, and Limerick have done it for the last 10 years now, and they're just building on it. And as I said earlier about giving credit to Kiley for really putting in Shane O'Brien, Adam English, those to replace Declan Hannon and those. In fairness, Kiley's done a good job there, and Pat Ryan has put in Barrett and Connolly, and younger guys. Cormac O'Brien has come in the last few years. So the panels have developed and that. So it takes time, but it's hard to get to the top. It's probably easier to get to the bottom, and the Munster Championship is ultra competitive. So that's it. And Sinead,
John, how important is the conveyor belt? Because there are parallels between the present Limerick squad and the emerging Cork squad, in that Limerick won a couple of All-Ireland under 21s as it was then in 15 and 17, won 4 Munster minor championships. Cork won a couple of All-Ireland under 20s and an All-Ireland minor. So how important is the conveyor belt, and above all, the ability to transition underage success to senior?
That's the key point, Tom. That's the key point. It's not just about winning minor or winning under 21. It's the development of players so that they're able to slot into the senior team. The Cork won a couple of All-Irelands there in under 20. They beat Offaly there in the All-Ireland. I remember meeting somebody and he said to me, Meyler, he said, well, what do you think? Who's going to come out? Now, I'm not going to say what I said, but I was wrong. And I thought fellas would make it, and they haven't made it. Where I would have said to you probably 2 or 3 years ago, Brian Hayes will probably go play football. And suddenly now he's become the corner forward, full forward in the last 18 months, 12 months. So he's been really good. But you wouldn't have said that 2 or 3 years ago. And he has really developed. Barrett and Cormac O'Brien have really come in. Connolly, while he hasn't been, flying at the moment, he's a really, really good player. So Owen Downey's come out in at full back and things like that. So it's about the transition. I think it's the transition of bringing players through from underage to senior. There's a massive, massive jump. Like when you leave minor at 17, then you go in under 20. And then you step up. Like I've watched the Cork under 20 teams there, the last few matches they've had down the park here. Like there's just the size and the strength and the physique and all that. You go put an under 20 against Kyle Hayes or Rod Hegarty or Brian Hayes. It's different gravy altogether. So it's that ability to be able to bring them through and you know, as I said earlier about Kylie bringing in Shane O'Brien and Adam English and that. Pat has brought in Connolly Barrett, Brian Hayes, and they've done really, really well for him. So you know, it's not about winning under 20s or winning minor All-Irelands. That's a huge plus, yes, but it's about getting those players through to the team. Like I had the Cork 15s, 16s in 2015, 2016, and you know the two fellas there, Brian Roach and Tommy O'Connell, they come out of that team and they won a minor. You know, it was the first under 17 All-Ireland. They won that. But they're the twin Roaches, the two Owen and Brian Roach and Tommy O'Connell, they're in the panel. But that's who came out of that team. You can be really successful winning sometimes under 20 or whatever. The players really, really come out of that. And, you know, as I said to you there a minute ago, I go back to 2017 where we lost under 21 final to Limerick. And like if you look at them all there, you know, Shane Kingston, Dalton, Kyle Hayes, Cian Lynch, all those guys, they were all in Limerick that night. So, you know what I mean, there's a lot of players came out of that kind of Munster under 21 final. But then Limerick drove it on then in 17, 18 on, you know, in the last 10 years.
Yeah. Andrew, from an underage perspective in Limerick, the last 2 years have been pretty fallow, possibly a bit boring even.
Again, I said it's everything goes through cycles, and the most important thing is that I find anyway that with your underage success, and Limerick are quite good at it. So if you look at all the underage teams, whether they're winning or losing, they're all playing the same style that the seniors are playing. So that makes the connection. But John was saying, you don't always get the connection up to the team. At least the lads that do make the step up, they don't have to learn the style of play. They know the style of play, so they make the transition a bit easier. So like it's always going to be worrying, but you can't be winning every year, every age group. So a good Corkman actually said to me when I was in school, Dennis Ring, it's not about winning these underage finals. It's about if you're thereabouts, that just means that you're not too far off. So it's easier to make transition. If you're winning everything, that's fine. But if you're thereabouts, that's not always going to be the case. So when you're thereabouts, eventually you're going to get over the line, and that's case in point. That's how we make the transition up to adult level. So I'm not particularly worried. Obviously, I'd like to see them do a slightly bit better. But if they're thereabouts, you're like realistically from all these underage teams, from the minor team, if you're getting two to make it senior, it's probably the case. So if you get 2 per year for 4 years, that's 8 players. So that's all you can hope for.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree. Go on, John. Sorry.
Yeah, if you look at Tipperary minors last year, and I was involved with the minor hurlers last year, and they won the All-Ireland. This year now, and I've seen them twice, they lost their 4 matches in minor hurling. So, like as you're saying there, you know that one, if Cork or Limerick have 1 player or 2 players out of each minor team, they're doing really well. And you can be like Evan Murray, I think that's his name, number 11 for Tipperary, super. Really, really super player. So like that, if Tip get him out and get him playing senior, they've done their job. I think that's the emphasis. And these guys need to be developed then to bring them up in terms of physique, in terms of strength, and in terms of all of those things. And I have a young fella there, and he's managing under 18s in Hull, and that's every Monday morning, David, who's coming through, who's developing, you know, and that's basically what it's all about. It's not about winning. It's not about winning. That's the key point.
Yeah, and in to use the whole example, obviously that's a professional environment. I presume, having followed a lot of soccer down the years myself, I mean, if he has a squad of 23 or 25, I mean, maybe only 4 or 5 of them will play meaningfully for the first team in the next few years. If even, it might only be a 1 or 2, and a lot of them will unfortunately
it's cruel. He doesn't get time. You know, he doesn't get time. It's the under 20, he's in charge of the under 18s. The under 21s could take 2 or 3 of his best players. He's down 2 or 3 best players. So, you have to be positive. And then that gives a 15, 16-year-old an opportunity to play. And, you know what I mean? The emphasis is on develop, who's coming through.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to move it back to the weekend, lads, and the way the Munster Championship table is set up, it's the loser of this game Sunday, if there is to be one, of course, will be facing potentially a bit of peril. The winner will be, I'm pretty sure, into the top 3 and maybe looking potentially at a Munster final. So, Andrew, home comforts for Limerick. I think they've lost 2 games at home in the round robin since it begun. They've lost 2 games at home, basically under John Kiley in the championship, that is, and one of them to Cork in 2019 and the other to Clare in 2022. So, Fortress, Gaelic rounds, are you in agreement? Is this going to be worth a couple of points to Limerick in terms of it's going to be a very tight game, as many will predict, but is it being at home very much helpful for Limerick on Sunday?
Normally you say yes, but if you look at all Cork games so far this year, the support they're having travelling, it's phenomenal. So it's a home game, we'll have the crowd there, but equally Cork will be quite vocal, and I'd say it'll be nearly 50-50, so that kind of negates the home. So it's just really down to, it doesn't matter where the field is, it's a match on a pitch, it doesn't matter where it is. So I'd like to think it's be an advantage. Maybe it might be a slight advantage, but it's not going to be determining the game. It's just down to 2 teams and whoever performs best, I think.
Yeah, how do you see it, Andrew? Do you think Limerick have shown enough in the 2 games so far to say that they can get the better of Cork and as I said, maybe put 1 foot or maybe 9 toes even in a Munster final?
No, Cork to win the All-Ireland without doubt.
He's playing it up there now. John, how are you?
It'll be close, honestly. It'll be so close. It's hard to call. It all depends. Like we spoke about, Darragh was given. It all depends. Like, because the way Limerick defends, you see with Clare and Tony Kelly, they don't mark Kelly. If he can outscore you, fine, but they won't move. And if they do that with Darragh, it's different with Darragh and Tony Kelly, because Darragh can cut through. He's unbelievable pace, so he'll cut through and create goals. So they'll have to tag him. If they don't tag Darragh, I think we might be in a bit of trouble. Right.
John, how are you seeing it on Sunday afternoon, come 4 o'clock, or maybe later in the afternoon?
I see it as being very, very tight. I see Limerick improving probably 5% from their first 2 matches. They're improving incrementally. I think Cork have probably played for 40, 45 minutes. They need to go to another 50, 55 minutes, another 5 or 10 minutes. So it's going to be huge. It's going to be massively intense. I think the crowd is 60-40. Andrew, I can't get tickets. They're fairly tight down here. So look, I expect Cork to shade it by a point or 2, but not surprised if it'll be a draw, because if somebody wins, it'll put them really into the Munster final. But I expect Cork to play Limerick in the Munster final as well, and in the All-Ireland final. So that's basically, we're going to get a trilogy, or whatever the right word is.
We endorse that message here. We'd happily take that to see Limerick back in 2 finals this year and going toe to toe with Cork. I don't think anyone would object to that here on our platform. Gentlemen, you've been very good with your time. We hope you get a ticket for Sunday, John. We might have to ring around the county board here. They might give you an old twist. But Andrew, go on. Sorry, John, you just couldn't hear you there.
I suppose you'd let me in the back door up in Limerick.
There'd be no problem at all. Absolutely not. Yeah. No, we'll get you in there. Yeah. But no, it's going to be great to see a round robin game like this sold out. It's going to be great colour with the contrast, of course, in the green and then indeed in the red. And I, for one, I'm sure you'll echo it. That's very much looking forward to. So Andrew and John, I suppose thanks very much for your time on Treaty Talk, and hopefully, as John predicts there, we'll be chatting about this fixture a couple of more times this year as well. So thanks very much, lads, for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks very much, lads. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, cheers. Yeah, well, great to get the insight from the lads there, Matt.
Great forthright insight into it. No strings attached, as it were, and it was an unbiased, honest, and open and frank discussion. And what is, as both of the lads said, there is going to be a very open game. When I say open, I mean in terms of the outcome, but one way or another, whoever is going to win it, it's going to go down to the wire, And I was just doing a quick, quick sums there in my head, Tom, while while it was, when the draw was mentioned.
Yeah.
If it were to be a draw and Tipperary beat Waterford, Clare would be out of the Munster Championship.
Yeah, well, I think even without, just if this game is a draw,
even if Clare are beaten, even if Tipperary are beaten, I think if 'tis a draw and Tipperary win or lose, Clare are out of the Munster Championship.
correct. You'd have 3 teams on 4 points in that scenario, whichever 3 they are. Be Limerick, Cork on 4, and they'd have one of the others on 4 as well, or 5 in Tip's case.
Tip would have the head-to-head on Clare.
Yeah, and Clare just can only get to 3 anyway. Even they'd have to beat Limerick in round 5. Yeah, no, look,
nobody with 3 points has ever qualified out of Munster.
I would
unusual in that we've had a couple of draws in there.
Yeah, I would warn at this juncture that the Limerick faithful writing Clare's obituary, maybe just don't jump that gun yet, because the scenario for Clare obviously is that they need Cork to win this weekend. They need probably Tipperary to win, and then they need to beat Limerick, and they need Cork to win the last day. Not implausible.
No. Possible. Yeah,
a bit of a long shot, but nevertheless possible. No, as I said, I think Limerick's home record goes completely against that, having lost just twice at home in the round robin era. They have really been very strong, and obviously they have a couple of Munster final wins on home soil during that time as well. So it's it's worth noting. I think just
also worth noting, Tom, that in my opinion, and from what I believe, Tom, it's not my opinion, it's from what I believe, that were it to be a Limerick Cork Munster final, it's in the Gaelic grounds.
Yes, yeah. The last time they met in a Munster final was 2014, which was in the old Parky Cueve, and I think it's basically home away arrangement for finals. So it'll be back to the Ennis Road. But look, we've plenty of.
We'll talk about qualifying first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's four games to decide how that comes out of it. Just to my own, I suppose, verdict and maybe how this game will be decided. I think if you're looking back at Limerick losing in Parky Cueve last year, Matt, discipline would be the word. And I know Limerick didn't have anyone sent off, and people say, mate, what's he on about? But Patrick Horgan got a lot of routine frees that evening. He got a penalty at the end where Limerick maybe weren't exactly the most disciplined in terms of their tackling, and they gave away that black card penalty. So if Limerick can maybe tighten up on those things, easier said than done now from here. But I think discipline in that regard could be very deciding factor, because you have 2 very, very shrewd free takers on show here. So the tackling will be very important. And let's see how it plays out. 4 p.m. at Sunday in the TUS Gaelic grounds, and we'll bring you, I'm sure, all the reaction as well from it on Sporting Limerick over the weekend. Matt, just looking at some of the other items on hurling this weekend, I suppose we go to the Celtic Challenge first, just to give that a mention. They picked up a big extra time. It was needed last weekend.
Yeah. I'll tell you, Galway have been very much to the forefront in the Celtic Challenge, and travelling to Killibeacanty, wasn't it, last Saturday?
I'll let you pronounce it.
It appeared, well, maybe that's the Chinese version of it that I gave, but it was a daunting task, and to be level at extra time, Limerick were a point up at half time, and it was level 2-18 apiece at full time, and then Limerick went on to win it by 3 or 4 points, which is a great result, Tom. And I've just learned before I came on air there that Limerick have been drawn against Cork Whites in the semi-final on Saturday week, and the game is going to be on in, Tom, you like it, Carina, at 12 noon. I think it's 12 noon. I'm subject to correction on that, but we've been drawn against Cork Whites. Now, we saw Limerick played Cork Whites in the first round, and they were beaten by 2
Cork
goals.
Whites is that East Cork, is it, or we're not sure? Cork have 2 teams in this competition, and this is one of them.
They have Cork Reds and they have Cork Whites. The Reds,
the City and the West, maybe, is it?
No, Cork Whites are Eastern City.
Eastern City, that's it, yeah. And the Reds then maybe is kind of North and
North and Duhala maybe.
Kind of more, there's so many divisions in Cork anyway. We'll need another podcast to explain those, but nevertheless, it's a rematch of this fixture.
It's a rematch, and it's on in Clarine on Saturday week, and I saw the first game with Cork Whites, And the main difference, Tom, and in that particular game was Cork's ability to take their goal chances. And the Cork goalkeeper on that particular day was he was outstanding. Now he made 2 absolutely brilliant saves. I think both were from Josh McLaughlin from Doon, who plays corner forward for the team.
Right.
Absolutely brilliant saves early on in the game when Limerick were on top. And it sort of gave Cork the heart to get back into the game. But Owen O'Sullivan and his management team have done a great job with him. They're into the Celtic Challenge semi-final. They're in there with a right shout. And obviously we'll talk a bit more about it next week in anticipation of it being on at that particular weekend.
Yeah. So from the young rising stars of the Celtic Challenge, Matt, I move now to the I wouldn't say rising, but nevertheless stars in terms of the Masters. They played on Monday evening against Cork in Rahina, and they emerged victorious. So a fine start for the Masters hurling. I'll come to the football later in the show, but 15 points to 11 victors over Cork. A very good start for all, I suppose, connected to this group for 2025.
Excellent start, absolutely. I think we didn't win a game in the competition last year. Am I right in saying?
Yeah, Kildare, even who were struggling, ended up beating Limerick and all, didn't they? I think it was
beating us.
Yeah.
But obviously, but Mike Flynn and his management team and their squad, they've done an awful lot of preparatory work, Tom.
Right.
And you reap what you sow you get out what you put in, and I think this is a classic example of it. Now, they were very, very close to Cork last year. It was played in Newtown Chandram. I think there was only about 2 or 3 points in it, but it's great that Limerick have turned the corner. And in a competition where you have 5 games, you can't ask for more than get off to a winning start. Now they have Tipperary, Galway, Kildare, Wexford that left.
Yeah, last night. Yeah.
So look, it's a promising start. It is a start, but it's a start very much in the right direction. And congratulations to the lads.
Yeah, and a few friends of the show, I suppose. John Chalk, I think, played in goals. From what I gather, I didn't see the full team lineup, but John Chalk in goals, of course. Yeah, and Mikey Dillon, his clubmate from Kildare-Pallaskenry.
Yeah, and Roger Ryan, who captained Kildare-Pallaskenry to win the All Ireland, was in the squad. Roger, from originally a native of Doon, but now very much a Kildare-Pallaskenry man, was among the squad. A great spread of clubs there, the likes of Mike Keane from South Liberties, who not that removed from senior club hurling in Limerick, and then you have players from St. Kieran's, Ahan, Clahan. It's really, they certainly did cast the net wide by the looks of it this year to get there. Chalky will be cock of the hoop, another clean sheet.
Another clean sheet, yeah. He went home of a Monday evening with a clean sheet. Not a bad day at the office. Okay, Matt, I think we'll move the dial towards football, and we'll start with the senior football as we look at minors and 20s in a moment. But we were in Newcastle West. I was trying to recall if it was the first time I was at a Limerick championship match, an inter-county championship match in Newcastle West. Pitch looked fantastic, surrounds looked great. And the Limerick football team, Matt, didn't look too bad either. A 25 points to 115 victory over London, getting the perfect start in the Talteann Cup. Good boost on the points difference, 2 points on the board. And as we were saying to each other, Matt, another victory from the 2 remaining games, and you guarantee yourself knockout football. So fine start for Jimmy Lee and co.
Not only that, Tom, but I believe that we would ensure that we have a home preliminary quarter final.
Yes, yeah. So that's the carrot now heading into the Antrim game this weekend.
If we win, and you just mentioned that there about the facilities in Newcastle West. Want to congratulate Newcastle West on the upgrading they've done to their fencing and everything. It's absolutely a beautiful job, beautiful venue. Absolutely a beautiful venue. That my view should be probably used more often. For these type of games. We saw 2 Limericks in a way, Tom. We saw Limerick that were very, very good, and we saw Limerick that weren't bad but were not so good. They win 14 points to 5 up with 5 minutes to go to half time, And we probably saw the worst of Limerick then for 5, 6, 7 minutes when London scored 1-4 without replying. I think the alarming part about it was, and I think Jimmy Lee put his finger on it after, you know, the way that the Limerick defence opened, as he described, like the Red Sea.
Yeah. And there was numerous examples before that. There was numerous examples
they were and got away, and Josh Ryan came to our rescue on one occasion. But overall, if you reflect on it, Tom, they negated the London threat in the second half, basically.
Yeah. Well, there was very strong.
The 2-pointer, Limerick, and it was the first score of the second half, and it came 9 minutes after half time.
Yeah.
Limerick were comfortable, Tom. There was, we sat together now, but I felt comfortable anyway.
Yeah, the third quarter, with the very strong defensively in the third quarter. That's where the game was won, because London had that head of steam going into half time. Couldn't build on it because Limerick, the likes of Ian Corbett dropped back a little bit deeper. A lot of turnovers, countered attack well, and started kicking scores at the other end. Then as the clock moved on, have to be positive.
Limerick, Tom, paced themselves better. I think London burned themselves. The pace they came out at. They were running all over the place.
Yeah, on a very warm day as well.
On a very warm, sultry day, and the tank was half empty in the second half. If you look back on it, Limerick were in no imminent danger at any stage of the second half of losing the football match.
No, that's true. Yeah, Limerick, once they went 4 up with that Coleman 2-pointer, it was their third 2-pointer, third of 5, and I had been maybe bemoaning the lack of 2-pointers in the league. Now, obviously, the weather can sometimes could have been wreaking havoc on that, but they've unlocked something, Matt. They kicked 3 of them against Cork, and they kicked 5 the other day, and two from frees, 1 from Emma Richter and 1 from Josh Ryan. And Josh Ryan's one was from outside the 45 off the floor. Superb kick. It's a great thing to have. Just to speak about elsewhere in this group, like Luke Laughlin kicked. I think, did he kick 6 2-pointers?
117.
Yeah, and I think 5 or 6 of them were 2-pointers. They're a very valuable commodity. If you can start knocking them over,
But talk of Josh, his kick out is a huge part of Limerick's ammunition.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So sometimes he went low. I don't know, was it accidentally?
He went low and he went short and he went long. He varied it.
Yeah.
But what was to like as well about it is the way that Tom Childs and Darrow Hagan are being moulded into a very good midfield partnership.
Yeah.
Darrow Hagan is developing as an inter-county senior football game on game.
You forget he's so young. I'm not sure exactly his age. He's maybe 21, 22.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. He's certainly on the upward trajectory. And Emmett Richter, Matt, we got in very early when we bought our shares in this player.
Yes, absolutely.
And the value of those shares is just going up and up and up every week.
Up and up. And as I said to somebody today, Emmett Richter would walk on any county team.
Yeah. Well, he got an all-star in this competition last year. And I tell you, if he keeps up the form again and maybe adds another little bit, he'll certainly be in that kind of reckoning again.
Yeah, but you can see the importance of the strength of the diamond in the middle. Ian Corbett at centre half-back. I thought Ian Corbett had a very good game last week. Darrow Hagan, Tom Childs, and Emmett Richter.
Yeah, that's not a bad. That's a lovely quartet. In fairness, yeah,
it's a great basis for your team.
Yeah. So Antrim is the fixture this Saturday.
Now,
yeah.
Antrim haven't been great shakes. They were relegated in the league. There's been more time arguing about Corrigan Park than they did about facing Armagh, probably. But having said that, they put up a plucky performance and lost, I suppose, by 11 points. But we should take note of about Antrim, Tom. They were beaten very comprehensively by 16 points by Westmeath.
Yeah,
and conceded 4-24 over 70 minutes.
Yeah, and they were actually ahead at one point in this. Maybe it was 20 minutes or so in the game. It was competitive early on, and then the floodgates certainly opened at the other end.
And the very same happened against Armagh, because Armagh kicked 120 in the second half.
Yeah, well, they were ahead of Armagh at half time. Now they were playing with a gale force wind in Corrigan Park on that occasion.
The trick will be to contain them for the first half.
Yeah, maybe their conditioning isn't there in terms of lasting the 70, you know. Yeah, but very porous at the back. Even one of the goals they conceded, it was a very bad piece of goalkeeping, and that can do damage to the confidence of obviously the goalkeeper, but those in front of him as well. And yeah, look, Limerick need to pray on that.
Despite the enormity of the journey and despite the enormity of Antrim and Corrigan Park and all that sort of thing, I think Limerick are travelling with a right good chance to them.
Yeah. Well, these sides you mentioned their relegation for Antrim, they're swapping divisions, Matt. Am I correct? So they're going from 3 to 4, and Limerick are going from 4 to 3. So if you were looking on a ladder base, Limerick are ahead of them. You know, yes. Limerick won here in the league. Well, it could be 3 years ago now. The year they got promoted, didn't they?
Well, Limerick won in the championship in Corrigan Park in 2018. Yeah,
and sorry, they won the league in a league game under Billy Lee. I think it was a 2022 on their route to getting to the Division 3 final. So, you know, no strangers to a success up in Antrim. So, look, as a victory here guarantees them knockout football and puts them in a very, very good position heading into the Westmeath game.
It gives Limerick home advantage, which, you know, it counted last Saturday, Tom, because like you had a home crowd there who you know got sort of vocal as the game went along, and you know you couldn't, Tom, would appreciate the block of football that Limerick put in between the 50th and the 30th minute.
Oh yeah.
It was just mind-boggling. It was excellent.
Yeah, no, they went. I think they were a point down, and then they went 9 up without scoring a goal.
They were a point down, and they went 9 up. They hit 7 on the row. They hit 4 on the trot first, then they conceded, and then hit 7 on the trot.
Yeah.
You know, it was. You know, and everybody was getting on the score sheet. Now, Killian Fahey didn't get in the score sheet, but he was absolutely outstanding. Yeah,
he made a great block, I think, early on, didn't he, himself or Jason Hassett? I don't know who will get the credit, but it was a great block early on when London.
Yeah, but talk of a guy leading from the front, Tom. He's your captain. I thought Killian Fahey was everywhere.
Yeah, well, he played a lot deeper than his number would have suggested, so maybe that's why he didn't score. But doing a great role for the team last Saturday.
Fantastic role.
Yeah, so that's Saturday. That's Corrigan Park, and a victory, as we say, will be more than enough, you think, to ensure knockout football. It's just, can Limerick do what they did last year, maybe, and build up a real head of steam coming out of the group, with Antrim and Westmeath to come in rounds 2 and 3. Round 3 is a fortnight later then, in a neutral venue, probably in the Midlands somewhere. Matt, just going down through the other Limerick football teams, the come to the Masters in a moment. The 20s, they did novel meeting with Monaghan in Moorfield in County Kildare, and it was 2 points in the end. You're shaking your head there. Go on.
I'm shaking my head with disappointment and.
Sorry, just for context, All Ireland under 20B semi-final. Obviously, Limerick won the Munster.
I would like to compliment and congratulate John O'Grady and his management team on the job that they've done with that under 20s. Like the win over Waterford twice and to win the John Kearns Cup, but the performance, Tom, when they were down a number of players last week, go 12 points down, come back and lead by 2 with 5 minutes to go, was simply an incredible performance. And to score 24 points, Tom, to outscore Monaghan by 24 scores to 20, but it's the old dictum, the old cliche, goals win matches. And those goals came early on and gave Limerick a mountain to climb, but by God did they climb it. And very, very, very unlucky not to be facing either Westmeath or Leitrim in the final.
It's
well done to everybody.
They gave it a fair go, and I know they were probably, I think they might have been short. Were they short any players with exams, or is that maybe the
more? They were short 4 with exams.
They
were down 4 with exams.
It's
and Ty Corrigan, who was starting all the year, didn't start because of injury, but came on.
Right. Okay. Right. So they were a little bit under strength from where they'd like to have been, maybe.
Well,
heading
they were,
into Sunday.
let's say John O'Grady, and he didn't have the hand that he would like to have to play
Yes.
from.
Yeah. Now, of course, Monaghan could have been likewise affected, but nevertheless, they didn't. Just didn't have enough in the tank. As you said, a mountain climbed, but then a little bit slip off at the end. The Miners, Matt, put in a steady enough opening quarter, but quite simply, Wicklow dominated the final 3 quarters of this game, and Limerick's, I suppose, hopes in the Tier 3 Minor Football Championship come to an abrupt end.
There was a couple of goals late in it there, Tom, which, they started. There was no way in God's earth that it was a 13-point game. And I just wonder, and Micheál Linehan and his management team, again, have done a fine job, because they you can see how close they came to coming out of Munster and contesting the Darrell Darcy Cup. Dramatic circumstances, 7-minute penalty to Prairie, who beat Clare to edge out Limerick, and subsequently beat Clare in the Darrell Darcy Cup, and subsequently took Cork to extra time last night in the Munster semi-final.
Yeah,
so
right. Yeah, just very fine margins. Very fine margins.
That will tell you about the fine margins, Tom. Yeah, and how near we were to it. But we kicked 5 points in the first 15 minutes, at which stage we led by 5 points to 1. And over the remainder of the game, we didn't. We only scored 2 more points, one of which was a free. But the goalkeeper made a couple of great saves at a stage when we were on top, and maybe the 5 points to 1. It certainly wasn't fully reflective of Limerick's performance in that first 15 minutes, nor indeed fully reflective of the opportunities that Limerick created. But once the first goal went in, about 15 minutes into the second half, Tom, the game was really out of Limerick's reach. And
right.
The last 2 goals, one at the very death, you could say were, I won't say of a fortuitous nature, but, the game had petered out as a contest.
Yeah. What do they call it in American sports? Garbage time, isn't it? When it's just the game is over, and
What the Americans call it, I wouldn't necessarily call it.
I think they refer to it in basketball when lads are scoring great at the end of the game, but they might be 20 points up or 20 points down. It doesn't have the same, I suppose, meaning as maybe a goal when there's in this case, a goal when the game is in the melting pot. But look,
but what was laudable about Limerick was the way that they kept going till the very end.
Yes.
And after the game, I had occasion to compliment Peter Lavin, one of the Limerick coaches. The positivity that he exuded from the first to the final whistle, Tom, you don't very, very rarely see it.
Yeah, and it was the same. I know you weren't there. It was the same the night they beat Waterford, and then suddenly they were told you're actually out of the Munster series.
Yeah.
And he kind of just shrugged it off and said, sure, we could do no more. We won our game. We won our last two games. And he kind of just said, all right, lads, I could kind of...
We're tired of calling out people for the very opposite. But I think it's very important that we acknowledge somebody like that.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that somebody would be so positive right up to the finish. Late in the game, he called him in to the lads. Come on, lads, get a score.
Yeah.
That type of positivity when the game is on. It's so nice to see, Tom.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, I suppose they seem to have been very well prepared this year, and look, just didn't...
Absolutely, Van, Micheál Linehan and his management team. They left no stone unturned, and they won 2 games, and they beat Tipperary, and you see where Tipperary got to.
Exactly. They more than beat Tipperary. They were way better than Tipperary that evening.
I was out at a football match last night. I was covering it, and I was following it, and I was scratching my head. I said, "Oh, it could only be Limerick,"
Yeah. There's definitely some talented players. I won't check names now at this point, but there's more than a handful of names there to say if these lads can find another gear or two, they'll make their mark at 20s and beyond, you know, for Limerick. So
Yeah, but Andrew O'Shaughnessy was making the point there about 2 from every minor team, you know. Like there are definitely 3 or 4 of that on the 20 squad, like we're almost ready to go into the senior squad, you know.
Yeah, and then the minors
there are
that will be
certainly
ready.
3 or 4 players in that minor. And Tom, we were reflecting off air last week about the Limerick under 21 team. We came up with an awful lot of very good players.
Yeah, we did. Okay, from the young to the old again. I'll make that transition. The Masters football, unlike their hurling counterparts, unfortunately suffered a defeat last Friday evening. I think was it 5 or 6 points against our old rivals, the Kingdom, but up and running for 2025. The Masters footballers who've given great entertainment for those who followed them in the last couple of seasons, and as we know, Kerry nearly always a very strong outfit in this thing. So disappointment for the lads' first day out.
Tom, they have given great entertainment over the last couple of years, but Tom, they've put in a supreme effort. It's a case of reaping what you sow.
Yeah,
you know. Like, and Anthony McCarthy and his management team and the players, they've really, really bought into this, Tom. They've really bought into it.
I passed the Bog Garden one for Sunday morning there. I was going playing a soccer match back in West Limerick somewhere, so it was probably about 9:30, and they were coming out of the Bog Garden. They were finished.
Yeah.
They had their session done, so they're early risers, these men. You know, they've been training very, very diligently, I think, over the late winter, early spring, and now into the early summer. So look, there will be green shoots for this competition as they go on. I think Kerry, as I said, always a formidable outfit, and Limerick not a million miles off it for day one. So yeah, are you aware of the next fixture, Matt? Do we have that to hand at this point?
I don't have it to hand, Tom. No, I have it in my files. But...
All right, so give me 1 sec now. See, can I pull it down here?
I definitely have it in my files.
Oh yes, no, sorry, that's mentioning the Cork hurling game. Yeah, so 17 points to 11 last Friday. Yeah, no mention just yet. To hand
I would imagine it's in 2 weeks' time and to be away from home.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll have a look at that on next week's podcast. Staying on the big ball, Matt, of course, the ladies' football, not to be forgetting them, have qualified for the senior B final in Munster. Once again, after bouncing back from that defeat to Clare, they've set up a rematch with the Banner following victories now over Kerry and Cork. So nice to get another game out. We spoke about it last week with Maeve McNamara, and she spoke very well about the competition. So good positive signs for Limerick. 2 wins in the bounce and back into a final.
And Maeve played very well against Cork at the weekend.
Oh, right, yeah. So we had the magic touch, although she probably always
plays
quite well.
We didn't have the magic touch.
I'm just trying to say.
Well.
Yeah, I'm just trying to say that. So if anyone else wants to come on, ahead of their matches, they might give us their time, But maybe we don't have the Midas touch, They just have it anyway.
Yeah. But Tom, like if you look at it and contextualize it, like we lost to Clare, now we beat Kerry. Cork had a huge win over Kerry, pushed Clare to the very limit, but there was no doubt about it last Saturday evening. Limerick were the better team, led at half-time, built on it after half-time. They were boosted by the return of Debbie Murphy, and Deb's announced her return by kicking 6 points. Yeah, Rebecca DeLee came on as a sub, and announced her return with a goal.
Yeah, her customary goal.
Customary goal, it doesn't always stop at one time.
Yeah.
Look, they're in a good place. The game is on Sunday week. It's clashing with the Clare game, unfortunately. It's in Mallow at a time to be determined. But the likelihood is that the game will go on at 2:00. And it's going to provide the curtain raiser for the senior final, which is this year is between Kerry and Waterford.
Yeah.
Waterford defeated Cork last weekend.
That's a bit of a surprise, but I suppose Waterford have been a stellar enough senior ladies football county, haven't they?
It's the second time now in success that they've beaten Cork. They beat them in the league in 2024 when Cork were relegated, and now they've beaten them again. And they have Tomas Mocken Payer. They're from Kerry is in charge, and Yeah, and obviously they pushed Kerry very, very hard. Kerry only beat them by a point in the group stage, so it augurs well for a very good senior final. But the important thing, as far as we're concerned, is that Limerick are contesting the B final, and they're an hour away from retaining the B championship, which would be a great start. And any year that you pick up silverware is fantastic. So, it's been landmarks for Limerick so far. In that Limerick consolidated very, very, very comfortably in Division 3 this year, picking up 2 wins and a draw. And it so easily could have been up to 4 or even 5 wins, Tom. Within a kick of a ball of them. And now what they're to add the Munster Senior B competition. Like it's the ideal impetus going into the All-Ireland Championship, which starts on the 1st of June with a trip to Kilkenny. But after that, it'll be down to real business because Sligo and Louth are on the horizon.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they've taken off their objectives. I think, Matt. They've stayed in the league, got to this Munster final. Now the next tick box is can they win it, and then after that, then it's obviously the target then within the All-Ireland series of getting out of the group, getting to the final, winning the final. If you just kind of look at it like that. So they're progressing nicely.
Progressing very nicely. And there's a lot to be said. It's a strong panel, very strong group, and that they seem to have developed a mental strength since coming up last year. Maybe the defeat in the divisional final wasn't the worst thing that ever happened to them. It probably helped them to focus minds and things in 2024, but certainly they're a strong-willed group, and I'd be very hopeful, Tom. On Sunday week, I would expect that they will really put Clare to the pin of their collar and possibly beat them. I think, they only lost by a point when they met in Ennis, and
a late goal as well, isn't it?
A goal with the last kick, literally. Yeah. Goal with literally with the last kick. So, which may not be too bad going into the final.
Yeah, no, that's it. So it's very hard to beat a team twice in the championship.
Beating a team twice.
Yes.
We've often spoken about it, and of course, the Clare manager will know everything about Limerick. Graham Shine.
Never heard of him. No, Limerick manager for a few seasons. Yeah, it was a 2 seasons.
His former charges. So it'll be very, very interesting. But as of now, anyway, it's on Sunday week, Tom.
Right. Okay. Very good. It's part of the doubleheader. Yeah. Matt, anything else for us on this week's podcast? My head is scrambled with all the games and all the ups and downs. Have we covered it all? I hope we have.
Tom, it is impossible to keep up with it. It is impossible to keep up with it.
Yeah, I know. We obviously normally touch on Camogie, but I think we're a little bit light on Camogie fixtures.
Not for long more, Tom, because the new under 23 championship and the senior championship is going to be starting at the end of the month.
Yeah. Well, I know the seniors are in action. Sorry, the 23s are the seniors are in action on Saturday the 24th. So we'll have an eye on that next week, and I think the 23s.
And you can take it that the under 20s are on at the same time.
They are under 23B All Ireland is on Saturday, May 31st. So it looks like maybe they're idle the first week, and then into action the second week. So seniors out first away to Cork. Then this following week it'll be the 23s at home to Wexford. And the seniors are also playing, I think, in round 2 against Wexford. Yeah, at home to Wexford. So by the end of the month, we'll have three Camogie games to have a look at.
I presume it will be a double header.
Wexford for the seniors and Wexford for the 23s. Well, assuming they can align themselves to a venue that is suitable, a double header would be very, very reasonable, wouldn't it? So let's see.
Tom, why in the name of God didn't we have a double header last Saturday? Limerick and London, Limerick and Wicklow.
I don't know. Honestly, I didn't really make inquiries to find out as to why, but I thought they might.
Am I being selfish in saying that I had to make a mad dash from Newcastle West, as you know?
In your helicopter, was it?
Pardon?
In a helicopter, was it?
No,
I don't know. Look, maybe there's some reason. I suppose maybe there is some reason I didn't actually ask the Holy Board properly myself. So look, we'll we'll see. Maybe there was a reason from GA. There was something to do with the throw-in times. I don't know. But even if the minor match is at 3:15, now I know the London one is probably logistics of them flying.
Oh yeah,
back over the country.
there's no question. London had to be played at 1 o'clock.
Yeah. But I wonder,
It was the first game in the Talteann Cup, and Darragh O'Hagan has scored the first 2-pointer in the Talteann Cup.
Yeah, piece of history. London got the first championship 2-pointer in, I'll say, the provincial, any of the provincials. I can't think of the player's name, but they got the first 2-pointer. Now O'Hagan has his slice.
Darragh O'Hagan's 2-pointer. What a 2-pointer it was, Tom.
Jeez, it was a monster. Yeah. Emmett Richter then followed it up with the 2-pointer free from nearly the dressing rooms. So yeah, great to see him finding those ones. They're a real boost to the team. Okay. Matt, I think that's it. So on episode 329 of Treaty Talk, folks, if you enjoyed our chat with John Meyler and Andrew O'Shaughnessy earlier, don't be afraid to share it. I'm sure someone heading to Limerick and Cork the weekend, someone in your life or someone in your supporters group would love a listen to the lads. Yeah, go on, Matt.
Yeah, but again, I appeal to the Limerick supporters. Be heard in the Gaelic grounds on Sunday.
Yes, so I tell you, the Rebels will be heard. So
they will be heard. So Limerick have got to counteract it. Be ready. Have the vocal cords ready. Get behind the lads. Be the 16th man.
Stay hydrated. Stay hydrated in the meantime. Yeah. All right. So Matt, thanks to you. Thanks to earlier to John and to Andrew. And folks, we'll chat to you again soon on Treaty Talk.
This should sail and this could sail. No! What a brilliant stop by Nicky Quaid. What an unbelievable game. We can't go. Nicky Quaid with maybe the save of his career to deny Cork the goal which would have sealed it.
Brilliant ball over. Look at Nicky Quaid. Look at the flick. What a piece of skill. And that is